Sometimes the person you love the most is the one who leaves you shattered beyond recognition. Sometimes the one who swore forever walks away as if forever was just a word. I never thought my life would take such a turn. I never thought the woman I was ready to marry, the woman I trusted more than myself, would look me in the eyes and tell me she had found someone better. And yet, that day came. Her words fell like stones, heavy and cruel. Cancel the wedding. I found someone better. For a moment, I felt my whole body go numb. My heartbeat slowed, my mind froze. But instead of breaking down in front of her, instead of begging for an explanation, I simply whispered, "Already done." Her brows furrowed in confusion, but I didn't stay long enough to explain. What she didn't know was that I had already discovered the truth. I had already buried the man I used to be with her, and I had already made a decision that would change both of our lives forever. I met Alina when I wasn't looking for love. She came into my world like unexpected sunlight through a dark window. I was at a bookstore, flipping through a novel I probably never intended to buy, when she walked in. She had this presence that made heads turn, not because of her beauty alone, but because she carried herself with a kind of energy that filled the room. She was bold, confident, the type of person who didn't shrink from life but embraced it. And for someone like me, who had been living cautiously, quietly, she was a storm I wanted to get lost in. Our conversations started small: coffee after work, walks in the park, late-night calls that stretched into early mornings. She made me laugh in ways I hadn't laughed in years. She made me believe that my scars from the past didn't matter, that I was worthy of something pure. And soon, I couldn't imagine a day without her voice, her smile, her presence. When I proposed after 3 years together, it felt natural. It felt right. She said yes, and in that moment, I thought I had finally found the person I would spend forever with. But forever has a way of testing love. At first, it was little things: missed calls, excuses about being too tired, nights she said she needed space. I told myself it was normal, that every couple went through phases. I trusted her. I loved her enough to give her the benefit of the doubt. But doubt, it has a way of whispering louder when the truth is close. One evening, while she was in the shower, her phone lit up with a message. I didn't mean to look. I wanted to trust her. But something inside me said, check. And there it was. Messages from another man. Words that once belonged to me, now belonged to someone else. Affection I used to crave, she was giving freely to him. They laughed about me, about the wedding, about how she was figuring things out. My stomach dropped, my hands shook, but I stayed silent. I closed the phone, sat on the couch, and when she came out, I smiled as if nothing had changed. But inside, everything had. For weeks, I pretended. I watched her lie to me, watched her kiss me goodnight while texting him in secret, and in those quiet hours when she fell asleep beside me, I stared at the ceiling, wondering how love could turn so cruel. Part of me wanted to scream, to confront her, to demand answers, but another part of me, the stronger part, wanted to wait, to see how far she would go, to see if she would choose me or him. The cafe meeting was the end of that wait. She sat across from me, sipping her coffee, avoiding my eyes, and then she said it, without a flicker of guilt: cancel the wedding. I found someone better. The knife I had been carrying in my chest for weeks finally twisted, but I didn't let her see me bleed. Instead, I whispered back, already done. What she didn't know was that 2 nights before, I had already called the wedding planner. I had already canceled the venue, the catering, everything. I couldn't go through with it, not knowing what I knew. But here's the thing she didn't know: I canceled it not out of pain, but out of choice, because I wasn't going to beg for someone who had already left me in every way that mattered. That her face changed when I said those words. She expected me to plead, to fall apart, to fight for her, but I didn't. I stood up, placed the ring on the table, and walked out. My hands trembled, but my steps were steady. That chapter of my life was closed. But life doesn't end at heartbreak, it only transforms. In the weeks that followed, she tried reaching out, not to apologize, but to justify. She told me I misunderstood, that maybe it was a mistake, that perhaps she had been confused. But I had already moved past her words, because in the ashes of her betrayal, I had found something I never expected: freedom. I started living again, not as a man in love with her, but as a man in love with life. I traveled, met people who reminded me that kindness still exists, that love isn't always cruel. And one day, months later, I met someone who looked at me not with pity, but with warmth. Someone who didn't just fill the empty spaces Alina left, but built new ones with me. Someone who reminded me that love isn't about being chosen once, it's about being chosen every day. The truth is, Elena's betrayal didn't destroy me, it freed me. It made me realize that the worst heartbreak can lead to the strongest healing. And though I'll never forget the day she said those words, I no longer feel the sting. Because now, I know that losing her was the best thing that ever happened to me. So when she told me to cancel the wedding, when she said she found someone better, and I replied, already done, I wasn't just ending a wedding, I was ending a chapter that never deserved to last. And what I didn't expect was that walking away would lead me to a love that was real, a love that was steady, honest, and true, a love that didn't come wrapped in lies, but in loyalty. Sometimes the greatest pain opens the door to the greatest joy, and sometimes the person who breaks you only clears the way for the one who will truly build you back up. Stay tuned for more stories filled with love, heartbreak, and lessons of life.